of an angle there for her, but eluding the blocking of Cavarial and Bell. Lower serve from the Soviets this time. And that'll be the service out to the Cubans, trailing 0-1. And the serve immediately goes back to the Russians. So some loose play here early on. Well, we've got a score on the graphics of 1-0 to the Soviets, and a great spike from Luis. Maria Luis Hernandez, look at the height she gets, look at the power, the trajectory, straight down. The score in the stadium is 1-0 to the Cubans. We'll just await confirmation on that. The block from the Cubans goes out. There you can see another one. Yes, the Soviets are leading, the Russians leading 1-0. All the support here for the Cubans, however, and they've won back the serve. A little arrow at the bottom of your screen indicating who the serve is with, and that's great defense by the Cubans early on. And again, great spiking from them. Menshova unable to deal with that. That's 1-1. And that got a touch through from the Cubans. Artemanova with the spikes of the serve back with the Russians. Honours pretty even here in the early stages. And immediately Torres Herrera wins back the serve for the Cubans. The Cuban spiking is just awesome, to say the least. Here's the captain, Luis Hernandez, serving at 1-1. Once again, Artemanova. Evgenia Artemanova. The serve from Natalia Morozova. Set from Izagedov. Serve with the Cubans then, still 1-1. Very, very long service position. And the result is it goes straight into the net. Russia with the serve once again. And that's going to go out, I think. Well, the Russians keep it in play. Good work from them. And the Cubans just touching the net, so... Or did the Russians touch the net? I think Menshova was being accused of touching the net here. So the serve back to the Cubans. Serve going back and forth at the moment. That was a good attempted block, but the Soviets have won. Well, I keep saying the Soviets. Not actually correct anymore, is it? The Russian team win the serve back again through Gracheva, Tatiana Gracheva. Bell McKenzie on the left hand this time. Good angle. Tischenko unable to deal with it. And the Cubans with the serve. And they again have wasted it. Well, it's more like a game of table tennis at the moment than a game of volleyball. The serve going back and forth so many times. Still looking for the advantage. Tischenko with the service. Set from Izagedov. And Caraval can do nothing but plant it in the net, and the Soviet Union creep in front. Good block. Did it touch the line? Morozova just missing, I think, with that block. It just drops out. Cubans win the serve back, trailing 1-2. And the Cubans with a surprise miss at the net from Izquierdo. There you can see she doesn't climb at all. And the serve hit long from the Russians, so a lot of errors early in this match. That's a better block from the Cubans. Torres Herrera. And Belle McKenzie pointing at the Russians, and again the Cubans, having seemingly got going, put the serve straight back into the net. Batoktina with the serve for the Russians. Good spike from Luis Hernandez, but well dug out by the Russians. And the Russians taking a 3-2 lead.
When Pakistan...
Well, a slightly slow start from both sides. Nice work from Gracheva. Tatiana Gracheva spotting the space and just tipping it over. There was no block whatsoever from Belle McKenzie. Good set, great spike, but great defense. Well, it looks as though it was going to be from the Cubans. Lovely spiking from Chubakina. Morozova keeps it in play. Better defense from the Cubans. And that block will go out. Belle McKenzie. There you can hear the cry in the background of Cuba, Cuba. Nice work from the Russians though. Tishchenko running around. There you can see the movement. Plenty of space down that right-hand side, eluding the blockers. Good serve from her. Belle McKenzie again. Did they get a touch on the way through? Bell says it did. Referee says it didn't. And 4-3, the Russians now lead in this opening set. And that serve just dropped long. Cubans win back the service. 3-4 trailing. Costa Blanco with it. And the Russians, miscommunication there. Puts the onus back on the Cubans, and don't they make them pay? Carvajal. Great speed of hand. 4 apiece. Interesting set, and what a great dig by the Cubans. Bell, and she's delighted with that. Costa Blanco again then. Can the Cubans get a run here of points? And the Russians suddenly having problems with their communication. And that's another point to the Cubans, and there goes the buzzer. Cubans, though, leading in this opening set, 6-4. Must admit, he may not be in total agreement with his tactics of shouting at his team, but his women have looked a little lethargic in this opening set so far. Won the service back, though. Here's Gracheva, who just felt, but she's put the serve straight out. It's a shame we can't see Nikolai Karpov, because I'm sure he is going to be shouting one or two things. It may not be kind things. Miss Gracheva. Here's Bell with the serve. Set too deep, much too deep. Giving Carvajal plenty of time to get up there. You can see them moving across. Great blocking. That familiar point from the Cubans, as if to say, don't mess with us. 7-4 now they lead. And suddenly it's all falling apart for the Russians. Run of 5 points for the Cubans. Substitution for the Russians. Chebukina is on. Val McKenzie with the serve. And the block goes out. The Russians win the service back. Menshova. Here's the substitute, Elena Chebukina. And once again, the speed of Carnaval. Too quick. No block there at all. You could see Morozova struggling to get across. They've won the service back. Russians need a couple of points here. Menshova with it, and she immediately knocks it long. Well, the Russians struggling to keep their serve in at the moment. Good shot from behind. Up went Artemanova, and again, just keeping it in play. That's a better spike from Menshova. Good angle, plenty of power. Still the 4-point deficit, though. Good defense from Menshova. Very good defense. And that's better spiking. Suddenly the Soviets come to life. But Luis Hernandez, Maria Luis Hernandez, look at the height. When the ball's around her, you've got to watch out. So a chance for the Cubans to extend their lead even further. That set was a little deep, but it posed problems for the Cubans. And a touch of the net by Torres Herrera. There you can see her, number 10. You can see her backing into the net. Giving the service over to the Russians. 4-8, still they trail. And lovely work from Val Hernandez. They really do favour this left-hand side. 8-4. This is turning into a marathon affair. Nice tip, but read by the Cubans. But not the second time. Artemanova. Big spike from her. Here she is with the service. The jump serve. Good serve. And that's gone out. You can hear the call of out. Well, no, apparently it hit the line. The Cubans are not happy. Costa Blanco and Caballal looking at each other. 5-8, then you can hear Nikolai Karpol in the background. Still not happy. And somehow that's wriggled over. Poor setting, but they've got away with it. Artemanova again. There you can see she's come from a long way back, and the trajectory, well, I thought that Bell and Caballal would have blocked that. And once again, the Russians give it away. Eight to 5 in the opening set of this best-of-5 setter. And that's better work from Menshova. Nice reverse angle. You can see Caballal, Magalis Caballal Rivera got up but didn't cover it. And there she was again with a spike, but she's put that out. Great speed of hand, but just putting it out. Russians coming slightly back into it. Tip not good enough. And this is better work from the Soviet girls. 7-8 down now they are. Menshova. Good block. Great block from Batutina and Morozova. So they've brought it back to 8 apiece. And then they have to watch as Cavallal gets the serve back. Look at the height once again. Great spring. 8 apiece. Cavallal with the serve for the Cubans. And she puts it out immediately, so Menshova, Tatiana Menshova, will get the initiative back for the Russians. And there's a surprise mistake from Torres Herrera. Good blocking. Good dig from Luis Hernandez. That's good enough for 10-8 to the Russians. Just long, well, way long in fact. Cubans need to win the serve back and quickly, and they've tipped that out. Well, Luis Hernandez not happy at all with herself after that. And the Russians move to within 4 points of taking this opening set. Well, you could almost say it was against the run of play, and that's better. Torres Herrera. And the block wasn't there. Artemanova went up. They really needed the two. Gracheva unable to pick it up. 8-11 serving the Cubans. The Russians get the serve back immediately, however. Serve from Batutina. Over to Luis Hernandez. Look at the height, look at the speed. Still the initiative with the Russians, however. Good blocking from the Cubans. And, well, there's another point. Torres Herrera, I think, being accused of touching the net. There you see it. Well, my apologies, it was just a side out. And wasted again by the Russians. It goes back to the Cubans. Well, we're already into the 20-minute territory for this set. And it's far from over. Or did that drop out? If so, it was a great lead by Batutina. I don't know if she quite meant it. But it's given Artemanova the chance to serve. A jump serve again. Good pace, good depth. And that's way out from Menshova. And the Cubans will win back the serve once again. There you can see, looking to go down that right-hand side, and Cuban girls throwing 3 bodies in her way. Well, it must have got a touch on the way through because it's now 12-8. Missed set. And that's another one. 13-8, and I think there's going to be a timeout called by the Cubans. Russians then looking to close out this set. Luis Hernandez, Bell, and Cavallal. To serve back. Good effort from Batutina. Ortiz comes on. Tanya Ortiz. I think it was Luis Hernandez. No, it wasn't Luis Hernandez that went off. Could have been Bell. 13-8 then to the Russians. Looking for just 2 more points. 13-9 now. What a great block. Good serving from Ortiz. Menshova wins it back though. Caballal again with the spike. Great height. Just falling at the feet of Artemanova. 9-13 then. Can the Cubans get back into this set? Well, they've won the serve back. Luis Hernandez, I think, with a touch, yes. And the block goes out from Caballal, and she'll go back to take the serve for the Cubans. Knocks it long. Chance for Menshova. Good work from Torres Herrera, just punching the ball up to keep it in play. Look at that. And Caballal through the middle. What a great point for the Cubans to play. 9-13, they still trail. Good serve. Set for Menshova, or in fact it ran to Badakutina. Climbing well and just coming out of the inside. And immediately they waste the service. Luis Hernandez then goes back to take the service. Look how far she takes this service from. 9-13, they still trail, and then she hammers the ball straight out of play. And that drops in for Bell. Bell McKenzie. Well, the Cubans hanging on in there in this opening set. Torres serves. There's the set for Luis Hernandez to make it 10-13, and I think the timeout called by the Russians. Another chance for Nikolai Karpov to shout at his team. You can hear him in the background. Trailing 10-13. Cubans with the serve. Well, that was a great spike from Artemanova, but Caballal and Ortiz brought up to it. Here you see, I think it was Caballal on the right, number 15 there. You see her fist is raised. She got the block. So 11-13. The Cubans right back in this now. The Russians are getting under. Oh dear. Mix up at the net. Russian girls throwing the ball away, and you can hear Karpov is in the background screaming at Badakutina. And well may he do that, because there's just a point between them now. And that was poor setting from the Russians. It's going to come to Bell, and she leveled it up at 13 apiece. And Tischenko is out now. Gracheva, I think, was the player to be withdrawn by Nikolai Karpov. Artemanova, great dig from the Cubans, and it's gone straight back over for the Cubans to take a 14-13 lead. Oh, Morozova couldn't handle that. Look at the dig here. How did she get that out? And what happened to the Russians? All standing around, and they've completely gone to pieces now. And Karpov, that's the set, 15-13. What a comeback from them. Here's the point that did it. So, second set gets underway with the Cubans serving. There you have it. Torres Herrera immediately gives the service over to the Russians, who are pretty pumped up, it has to be said, coming out into the second set. Fearing the wrath, I'm sure, of their coach Nikolai Karpov. Lovely tip, and attempting to retrieve Bell's tip was Badakutina, unable to get there. The Cubans win the serve back. Malenis Costa Blanca. better setting, but they seem to get the call wrong, and the Cubans have got it. What a great dig. Touch of the net by one of the Russian girls, however. And Baduktina's defense all to no avail. Watch where she gets down to that. Brilliant control. Cubans, though, as you can see, taking a one-point advantage. That's a better shot, and that's come off Caballal and goes out for a side out to the Russians. Switch of hands from Menshova. We've seen her using the right most of the time. She switched to the left, and it paid dividends. Gracheva with the serve. Lovely spike from Escudero. The height she gets. Escudero basically the setter for the Cubans. She proving that she can get up as high as the best of them. Val McKenzie then with the serve. Cubans leading 1-love in this second set, having taken the first set. Menshova rather, has knocked it out. Here we get a better angle again. And you can see that the ball landing just out. So 2-0, the Cubans lead. Val again with the serve. Good serve from her. Dropping low to the back of the court. And this time the block goes out. Caballal and Val unable to block it. Nicolina is on, Marina Nicolina. And they pick up a cheap point this time. Soviets put it back to 2-1 down. Sebukina. There's a better serve from her. Set from Costa Blanco. And Luis Hernandez rifling that ball away. Acrobatic display from Luis Hernandez again. Really one of the key players responsible for the Cuban victory last year in the Barcelona Olympics, as the Russians put that spike out. There you can see Luis Hernandez was up alongside Torres Herrera. Great blocking, great defense from the Russians, however, here. Chance for Luis Hernandez again. Momentum all with the Cubans at the moment. And somehow or other, Escudero managing to get well above the blockers. It was the positioning, really, of the shot that did it. And here's the first appearance of Shmanova. 4-1 then to the Cubans, running away with this at the moment. Great defense, great dig. It was a little wide and a little behind her. Shmanova with her first chance to make an impression on this match. Batuktina is beautifully blocked by Izquierdo. And poor old Batuktina got a verbal hammering from the coach in the first set. He's likely to get another one, and they all will. I wouldn't be surprised if he calls another timeout in any moment now.
Fitness to the
one. It's looking ominous for the Russians. Good blocking again from Torres Herrera, but unfortunately for her, this time it just goes out. And Shmanova with the serve, trailing 1-6. Cubans will keep this in play. It's got to go over. Oh, what a spike from Luis Hernandez. Great work from her. And then in the center, Torres Herrera puts it away. But Luis Hernandez, here she is in the front of your screen now. What a great spike that was to win the serve back. Block goes out, and the Russian girls have something to cheer about. There's been little for them to cheer in this second set so far. Batuktina with the serve, trailing 1-6. Set from Izquierdo. And Caballal puts it away. So the Cubans win the serve back, still leading 6-1. Luis Hernandez with it, and it drops in. Disastrous mistake from Sebukina. Well, the facial expression was one of, don't worry, I'll get it next time. But the Russians can ill afford any mistakes at the moment. Artemanova wins the service back for them. 1.90 meters, and doesn't she get up well? 6 points the difference, though. Morozova was tight to the net, and that was good enough for the Cubans in the shape of Torres Herrera. A lovely height on the set from Izquierdo. And the Russians really struggling to even get the ball back. And finally they get it to Artemanova. Torres Herrera apologizes to her teammates. I think that ball was going out. Still they lead by 6 points though. Disaster serve again from Menshova. Or rather, it was Artemanova. Gives the service straight back to the Cubans. Costa Blanco with it. Much better work from the Russians. Artemanova from a long way back. Found the space, however. And Izquierdo's spike is blocked out, so the Cubans get the serve back immediately, still leading 7-1. Shmanova. Izquierdo. Great spike, great stop. Shmanova with the set, too close to the net. Going to come back to her, and the block is out from Caballal, and serve over to the Russians, and they need every one of those that they can get. 1-7 still they trail. And that's Caballal again. Really the spring that did it. Great height. You see her running towards the net, stop, checked. Shmanova again for the Russians, but this time the block is on. And here's Caballal, and a lovely tip from her. 8-1 now to the Cubans. Not looking good at all for the Russians, and as I say that, you can hear Nikolai Karpol in the background. Screams from him increasing. And that's another great block, this time from Torres Herrera. Batutina could do nothing about that. You see Batutina is up. Torres Herrera makes it 9-1 to the Cubans, and a timeout called by the Russians. It was almost just posing questions to his team. What exactly are you doing out there? Well, they're trailing by 8 points at the moment, and it hasn't looked too special. And there's another example of it. The Russians really not working as a team, and as I say that, they proved me completely wrong by winning the service. Batutina getting away with a very, very deep spike. Smirnova with the serve. And that's a good block from Artemanova. Did it drop straight back? Yes, it did. That gives them the second point. 9-2 they trail. Smirnova with the serve again. Good serve, dropping very short. Oh dear, bad defense again. Nikolina coming forward. You can see her. Just knocked away from her. No call from Nikolina. Bad play from the Russians. Izquierdo with the serve. She puts it straight out. The Cubans give away the service. The Russians have really got to start communicating better than they have been. Izquierdo, and just too easy for Torres Herrera at the net. Well, there was barely a block. 9-2 with the serve. A couple more points, and very, very hard work for the Russians, but Artemanova wins the serve back for them as I speak. Coming from wide, good angle. That was too tight, but good defense from the Cubans. And just, I think it was Izquierdo accused of just knocking the ball up with the palm of her hand. So the Russians close the deficit to just 6 points. We really don't want to give the Cubans a 6-point advantage. That's gone long, has it? Yes. 9-4. Is the recovery on? There you can see, just long. Morozova with the serve. 4-9, they trail. 5-9 now. And that'll be a timeout called by the Cubans. In the last round of preliminaries, the Cubans. What a spike that was from Bell. Regia, Bell, McKenzie. 4 Russians down that side, and she still found the space. Cubans have the serve back then, 9-5, and bad defense from the Russians. Morozova is immediately pulled off after that mistake, and on comes Korytova for her first appearance in this match. 10-5 now. Cubans moving inexorably towards this second set. Artemanova. Easy defense from Luis Herrera. And finally Costa. She can't believe that she's taken a point out of that. Didn't get any height at all. Just sort of flapped at it. Still picks up a point. 11-5. Russians in deep trouble now. Well, the dig from Luis Herrera not quite working. Look how close she was. 5-11 then, the Russians trail. Artemanova to take the serve. Her jump serve easily picked off by the Cubans. They're making it look so easy at the moment. Well, they've lost a point there, but they still lead by 5. This time Costa Blanco putting that out. 11-6 though to the Cubans. Luis Herrera. Baduktina there down on her knees. Costa Blanco with the serve, leading 11-6. The Cubans lead well in control. Smirnova sets, or rather Smirnova spikes and wins back the serve. Set was from Korytova. Nicolino with the service then for the Russians. Still trailing badly, 5 points the difference. And again, the Cubans able to spike almost at will on that far side of the court. That's just too easy. Bell McKenzie it was. Artemanova, great dig, it's come straight back. Almost indecision on the Russian side as to who's going to set and who's going to spike. That's better though, that finally Baduktina found a little bit of space over on the right-hand side, got an angle. Luis Herrera couldn't get up. 6-11 though, they still trail. It's an uphill climb all the time. And there you can see the Cubans have immediately got it back. Cavallal. There she is with the serve. And that drops in, the block drops in for the Cubans. So 12-6. 3 points away now from taking this second set. Better set from the Russians, but it's gone straight through from Baduktina. There you see it, nobody touching that on the way out. So it's now 13-6, and Nikolai Karpov isn't even standing up. Well, he does finally get to his feet, and I think he's going to beg a few questions along the lines of, could we please look competitive? Now 7 points the difference, and Eugenio George must be just going through the motions of how the Cuban team is going to see this one out and take what looks very much like a 2-0 lead. Stadium warming up here at the Nini Boot Hall. All the dignitaries gathered, including Miss Thailand. Shmanova. The block drops in. And so does that one. That's brilliant blocking by Luis. Look at the smile. 14-6. A point for the set. Kabayal. Russians struggling again. Artemanova. The block will go out this time. And the Russians have a little bit more breathing space. Artemanova getting probably the greatest height we've seen her get throughout this match so far. Way off the ground. Luis. And that block goes out. Gives the Cubans the serve. And puts them on the verge of this second set again. Bad defense again. Shmanova having to climb a long way, and that was easy pickings for the Cubans. Kabayal unable to do much with that, though. The tip from Artemanova, and it's worked. Well, it's a one-woman battle at the moment, a lone battle. Artemanova really holding the Russians together. Batukatina with the serve. It's going to come to Luis. Oh, you can barely give her an inch, let alone a mile like that. Incredible height. I've said it throughout this match. We'll say it throughout this tournament, I'm sure. But you can only marvel at what she does. Well read by Costa Blanco. This has given them the chance to take the set. Shmanova, Artemanova. Good defense from the Cubans. This is better volleyball. And was there a touch on the net? Yes, there was. So that will give the set to the Cubans by 15 points to 6. Let's just look at this. Was it Artemanova who gave away? Well, I almost felt that the Cubans had touched the net, but it's gone against the Russians. I think our cameraman having a spot of bother picking it up as well. Well, according to the referee, it's gone against the Russians, and that has given the set to the Cubans. 15 points to 6, an easy one for them in just 19 minutes. So they lead by 2, 15-13, 15-6. Nikolai Karpov will not be a happy man. From Hungary, signaling that we're about ready to go for this third set. There it is. The Russians are yet to get on the score sheet. And immediately, Belle McKenzie slams in a spike of humongous proportions to win the service back. Costa Blanco. Set to Menshova, and nice touch from her, giving the Russians the serve. Polina with it. Caraval is missed out. Bell's spike is blocked for once. Menshova, she's blocked as well. This is good volleyball. And what a delightful touch from Izquierdo. The little point afterwards to make a point to the Russians. Belle McKenzie then with the serve. No score yet. Nikolina. Nice touch from Artemanova. Oh, what a spike from absolutely nowhere from Luis Hernandez. By far and away the Cubans' top scorer. Look at the height again. Well, we're beginning to sound like a long-playing record that's got stuck. But you can only marvel and only revel, really, in the power play and the agility, the ability of Luis Hernandez. Mireia Luis Hernandez plays for the Camagüey club. As I say, 26 years of age. Born in Havana. Once again, Izquierdo. She really does get way off the ground. Izquierdo just checking her height. Just 174. She is, in fact, the shortest woman on the Cuban team. Making light of that by outthinking, outsmarting the Russian defense. Batuktina sets, and that's a lovely touch from Menshova. Feigns for the spike and catches them out. Bell was left sprawled on the floor. 2-1 to the Russians. And I think there was a touch by one of the Cubans. No, they retained the service. I thought the point rather, had gone to the Russians. Artemanova, great dig. Lovely blocking from the Russians. They look more mobile at the net now. There they go in unison. You can see them. Was there a touch on the net? Yes, there was from Luis Hernandez. So Batuktina can run away with a 2-1 lead and take the serve. It's going to come to Hernandez. Switching hands, but it didn't work this time. The Russians reading things a lot better. Putting the Cubans under pressure. There you can see all they could do was dig it out. And this is much better from the Russians. Artemanova again. Look at the height. Evades the block. And too much power for Luis Hernandez to dig it out. 3-1 the Russians lead now. Luis Hernandez again. 4-1 to the Russians. Well, there you can see Luis Hernandez, her hand being accused, or she is accused of getting her hand the other side of the net. And great blocking this time. Torres unable to put that one through. 5-1 the Russians lead, and there's the timeout from the Cubans. A little bit shell-shocked at the start of this third set. We weren't expecting this. And what is Nikolai Karpov going to have to say to them this time? They've taken a 4-point lead. Still pointing, still cajoling. He's a lot quieter, though, it has to be said, at the moment. And the Russians come back out. This 4-point advantage in the third set, needing to take it to stay in the match. 5-1, then they resume with the serve. Good deep serve. Luis Hernandez, and she immediately gets the serve back for the Cubans. The timeout working to their advantage. Nicolina getting to the block, but knocking the ball out of play. And gets a cheap point. They narrow the gap 2-5. Nikolai Karpov screaming in the background. And he's going to be very, very unhappy with what he's seeing at the moment. The Russians barely getting the ball back. And Costa Blanco able to make it 3-5. Luis Hernandez with that very, very long service. Artemanova. That's better from the Russians. 5-3, side out. They will serve. And Shova with it. And Cubans will get the serve back immediately. 3-5. Set from Nicolina. Menshova, great spike from her. Much, much better work from the Russians. They've got to keep the pressure on in this set. Artemanova with the jump serve. 5-3 they lead. Luis Hernandez, a lazy sort of block from her, and Cavallal is able to win the serve back immediately, almost immediately anyway. Lovely little set from Izquierdo, and Cavallal brings the serve back to the Cubans. Nicolina, Artemanova, good spike to the corner. Izquierdo to Bell. Artemanova again, that got a touch on the way through, yes it did. So 6-3 now to the Russians. Artemanova again doing most of the work for them. Or rather, the serve has gone back to them, my apologies. It remains 5-3. There's Artemanova setting for Menshova. And the Cubans win the serve back. Still 5-3, I was getting a little carried away there. Bell McKenzie. Oh, low the serve. Menshova can just knock it over. Set for Cavallal. Beautiful play. Quick thinking. 4-5. And the Russian girls not backing up their blockers. They're having trouble picking up the serve, but Artemanova again has won the serve back for them. And look where she had the spike from. 5-4 then. With the service, Kotoyova. Going to come for Luis Hernandez. That got a touch on the way over. And once again, serve changes sides. Serve is given away immediately. Menshova to serve for the Russians, still leading 5-4. Set for Bell. And beautifully put away by Torres Herrera. Using the arms to get the height. Izquierdo with the serve. There's the signal. Baratina rescuing the Russians once again. And that block goes out, so the Russians have got the serve back. Baratina with the serve. Luis Hernandez. She knocks it long. So, yes, the Russians have finally got that 6th point that I thought they'd got earlier. There it is, 6-4. Good work from Artemanova. Nicolina back to Artemanova. And that'll be a 7-4 advantage. Suddenly the Russians coming to life. Russians really haven't been able to string points together. And just as we posed that question, Baratina knocks the serve very long. And here's the inimitable Luis Hernandez. Put the pressure back on the Russians. Well, she doesn't manage to do that either. And we'll come back to Chebekina. Cubans looking a little lazy at the moment. 2 sets to love up. And I think they thought they were on a stroll to a 3 sets to love victory. Nicolina, Artemanova, and she's long. Was she long? No. Apparently there was a touch on the way through. Here, let's see. Torres. Well, maybe there was a touch in the net. The serve has come over, or rather the Russians have won the point. 8-4. Izquierdo, and that's a miss by the Cubans. Costa Blanco, and they'll have a timeout, having dropped 4 points behind. 9-5, the Russians lead. And can Nikolai Karpol sent away back into this match? 6 more points You think back to that opening set when they led 13 points to 8. Here they lead 9 to 5. They've really got to make this pay.
แอนแคเรียโดยคุณชวัชชัยสัจกุลหรือบิ๊กหอยแห่งวงการฟุตบอล
And that serve is going to win them a point, is it? No, the Cubans have managed to keep it in play. Nicolina for Artemanova. The Cubans working well together there, you can see it. And Bell is blocked by Koratoya. So 10-4. In fact, I'd accredited the Cubans with one more point than they actually had.
Sunday, Prime Sport.
Nicolina sets for one and only Artemanova, and the block goes out, and they've got the serve back again. The setting of Nicolina and the spiking of Artemanova. Well, surprisingly, Artemanova is being rested. Shmonova is on in place of her. Artemanova scoring all the points, really, for the Russians so far. Shmonova serves. And it doesn't work. Bell immediately gets the service back for the Cubans. And Ortiz has been brought on for the service for the Cubans. Low and hard. Kept in by Nicolina. Shmonova. 5-10 then, the Cubans pull it back. Nicolina with the serve, leading 10 to 5. And Bell looking for the little tip, and it didn't work out. She thought one of the Russian girls had touched the net. They hadn't. 11 to 5 now to the Russians. Moving closer to getting on the set score sheet. Bell, and a missed call from the Russians. Nicolina was caught napping. She and Badakutina, not sure who was going to take it. Bell McKenzie then with the serve, trailing 5 to 11. And the referee has called something, Mr. Dean Turner. Saw something wrong, and Nikolai Karpov in the background is complaining. And now a yellow card is dished out to Nicolina for complaining. Bell McKenzie waits to serve. I think referee Turner was suggesting that one of the backcourt players had infringed into the front of the court. Well, it looks as though players about to recommence. 6-11, yes, the point went to the Cubans. Good spike from Menshova. And after all the disputes, they have got the service back. Caballal, and that block goes out. She will go back to take the serve. Menshova and Chebukina unable to pick it up. Caballal comes out of the action for the moment, and Latomble is in. Norka Latomble from Guantanamo. (7-11), the Cubans have pulled it back again, and there's another point. Well, the Russians, whenever they look to be home and dry, Menshova was blocked out there. Whenever they look to be home and dry on a set, they make a mess, but they're relieved there. Artemanova is brought back into the fray in place of Smirnova. Haven't seen much of Irina Smirnova in this match. Menshova with the serve, and that's put the Cubans in trouble, and an easy tip for Baratina to make it 12-8. Now, can they close it out? Luis Hernandez. Well, they'll struggle if she's around. There's the set. Rarely misses, does Luis Hernandez. Serve from Skjehedo. Nicolino with the set. Artemanova, what a great dig from Luis Hernandez. Unbelievable defense. Nicolino again switches to Baratina, and the block goes out. Luis Hernandez, who dug that ball out to keep it in play. Up for the block, but blocking it out. And the Cubans in a spot of bother at the moment. Nicolina can set once more for Artemanova. And she has made it 13-8 to the Russians. They're clawing their way to this third set. Timeout for the Cubans, trailing. Oh no, there's a substitution rather. My tie not quite up to what it should be. There we have it, Russia leading 13-8. On the verge now of this third set. Just a reminder, they led 13-8. Luis Hernandez, and she's blocked out for once. And you can see the delight on the Russian girls' faces. Not only did they block Luis Hernandez, but they blocked the ball into play, well into play, and gives them a set point. It's going to be Luis Hernandez again, and this time the block is out, and the Cubans get the serve. I've got the feeling this time it's maybe a little too late from the Cubans. Nicolina calling the shots for the Russians, and that's going to go long. So Luis Hernandez is first blocked out, and then she serves long. So the Cubans facing at least a fourth set, if not maybe a fifth, and that's going to go out. Yes, the Russians get a big cheer here for taking the third set, 15 points to 8. There you see Skjehedo just knocking the ball, trying to knock it over, and it knocks the ball out. 15-8. The Russians take the third set and get back into this match. 21 minutes it took them. The start of this fourth set. Russians have to take this one as well to stay in the match, despite that 15 points to 8 victory, shall we say, in set 3. Cubans still needing just that one set for victory, having taken the first two 15-13, 15-6. First one was a very tight affair, with the Russians leading 13-8 at one point. Really probably should have taken that opening set. As it is, the Cubans are leading 2-1. And they will serve through Regia Torres Herrera at the start of this fourth set. Menshova very tight at the net, and Caballal is accused of touching it, and the serve will immediately go over to the Russians. Korotoeva will take it. And bad reception from Torres Herrera. nods her head to acknowledge the mistake, and the Russians get an early lead in this fourth set. Cubans winning the serve back, though, pretty quickly. Artemanova, there she is, the number 8. By far and away the most successful attacker for the Russian team in this match so far. Interesting serve from the Cubans. You can see they put it right down the line. And there's the block from the Cubans after Banaktina had spiked. And the block going out. So the Russians back on the serve, Menshova. Good blocking from the Russians again. They look fired up at the start of this fourth set, but that time it goes out. And the Cubans will get the serve back. You can see we've been out on court just about an hour and a quarter so far. Bayal, it was read easily by Nikolina. And that's a great spike from almost the back of the court from Menshova. Seemed to pick out her spot. It's a really lovely angle. It's a shame we couldn't stay more on behind the court, and immediately it's wasted by the Russians. Kabayal to serve for Cuba, trailing love 1. Did that get a touch on the way through? No, it didn't. Sedukina is back out for the Russians. So Cuba level it up at 1 apiece. Russians struggling to get it over. Artemanova can't do that, and the Cubans take a 2-1 lead now in this fourth set. Carvajal would serve again. Good, deep, hard service. Better digging from the Cubans. Luis Hernandez. 3-1 to Cuba. Russians can't afford to let them get away in this fourth set. They need it. Nikolina, not a good set from them. Great dig from the Cubans. It's gone straight back. And Artemanova makes them pay. One to 3 then. Banaktina calling the shots at the rear there. Bell can just knock it over. Nikolina coming to this side to Artemanova, who knocks it wide. Izquierdo with the service. The Cubans leading 3-1 serve. Oh, it's a lovely tip from Menshova to win back the serve. And Bal McKenzie, Regia Bal McKenzie, not happy with her teammates there. 1-3 then. Artemanova will serve. That distinctive jump serve. The set to Luis Hernandez. And there's usually one outcome when she gets to spike. And that was it. So the serve bouncing back and forth at the moment. Cubans still have the early advantage, 3-1. Nikolina for Menshova. It's come back to Banaktina, and a lovely touch from Nikolina. That really is a great angle there. You can see the team working, and Nikolina with the touch to win back the serve. Bad set this time from the Cubans, and the Russians back in it now. 2-3, courtesy of Kuratova. Nikolina to serve again. It's a better set. No, it wasn't. Torres Herrera really caught underneath it, but that's a better block from her. Not often that you see Artemanova blocked successfully, and Torres Herrera will come over to take the serve herself. Looks a little bit shaky in this the start of this fourth set. Well, talking of shaky, that was horrendous defense. Banaktina is caught out. The Russians are caught out, and 4-2 is the score now to the Cubans. for long, though. Torres Herrera having a bit of a torrid time at the start of this fourth set. Koretova with the serve for the Russians. It's a better shot. Luis Hernandez. No, it wasn't. It was Bell. Luis Hernandez was behind her. Bell using the left hand as well. And Costa Blanco will serve now for the Cubans, and she'll serve straight out, while the last two serves the Cubans have had, they've completely wasted, and Menshova gets a chance to pull the Russians back into it, trailing at 2-4. They pick up another point, narrow the gap to just one. Well, it was a great block initially from the Russians, but Carvajal made them pay second time around.
Prime Sports.
That's great defense from the Cubans. And Artemanova, well, he got a touch on the way through. And they've won the service back, when in fact it was Batuktina. A short set from Costa Blanco. Twice, great defense from the Russians. And they've kept it in play. Or did they? No, maybe not. Serve not long again from Cubans. 3-4 then, the score remains. Batuktina unable to deal with the high acrobatics of Luis Hernandez. Cubans back with the serve, still in front. Menshova it was, too difficult for Izquierdo to deal with. Artemanova with that jump serve again. Izquierdo, Luis Hernandez. Good blocking from the Cubans. Russians get it back. Menshova blocks it, or puts it straight into the net, so it's 5-3 now to Cuba. There's Menshova again, tips it this time, read by Izquierdo. And Bell, was she blocked out? Oh, Nicolino will get the serve. Bell McKenzie not having a lot of luck in this fourth set. The Cubans still lead 5-3. Izquierdo switches this time to Costa Blanco, and it works. There you can see the blocking at 6s and 7s. The three front players for the Russians split up across the net. They didn't know which way the Cubans were going to go that time. Batuktina with a nice spike, and that'll go over to the Russians. Over the head from Eugenio George. You could hear the call of out from the Cubans. Mr. Blanco with the serve, still leading 5-3. And she puts it long as well. Well, it's an edgy fourth set at the moment. Not a great deal of magical volleyball to watch. It's tight and it's tense. Nobody wants to make mistakes. Izquierdo. And back to her. Well, what a great leap from the shortest girl on the Cuban side. What a good angle. Belle Mackenzie then with the serve, leading at 5-3. Nicolina, very rapid. Luis Hernandez. Artemanova. And it's fallen for the Russians. Izquierdo finally trying to lob it over. 3-5, still the score. Izquierdo asked to jump again. And every time she's asked, she scores. That's great work down the line. Nicolina sets. Great dig from the Cubans. Luis Hernandez won a great block from the Russians. Artemanova. You know they're always going to be very, very delighted when they stop Luis Hernandez. This time it was Chepokina. And that's in as well, so the service comes back. And it's a battle to get points on the board at the moment. Touch on the net against the Cubans, so the serve will go back to the Russians. And we remain at 3-5. We've been at 3-5 now for about 5 to 10 minutes. Artemanova. Crowd trying to get behind the Cubans. And Torres Herrera fires one right down the throat of Badatina. You can see she got a smack in the face. And Luis Hernandez will take the serve for the Cubans. Still leading 2-1, 5-3 in the fourth. And she wastes the serve as well. Nicolina for Russia. Who's going to be the next to get a score? Well, it will be the Russians. Finally, the patience goes. Nicolina picks up a point from her serve against Belle Mackenzie. 4-5 now. Russia trail. Izquierdo, and that's gone long. The Cubans thought it was good. The Russians, judging by their response, definitely thought it was, well, it looked on the replay as though it was in. So the referee's giving it out, so it's 5 apiece. Good defense from Artemanova. Badatina, Artemanova again. And great stuff from the Russians at the moment. 6-5, and there's the expected call for the timeout. Look at this for a spike. Huge. And Cavallal could do nothing with it, and suddenly the Russians lead 6-5 in this fourth set, trailing 1-2 in sets. And you can see Nikolai Karpov has calmed down quite a bit. The fan or from the local schoolgirls from the guys cleaning the pitch, but whichever way, there's a lot of vocal support here in the Nimibut Hall in Thailand. Russia then, 6-5 up. They serve, having fought their way back from 5-3 down. Belle Mackenzie able to pull the Cubans back to the serve, which will be taken by Regia Torres Herrera. And she knocks it long as well. The Russians getting more and more pumped. You can see there have a lot more spring in their step as they bounce around the court now. And just as we say that, Kuratova knocks her serve long as well. Tuta. Tina, rather. Just managing to keep that in play. But Artemanova couldn't. Bell McKenzie and Luis Hernandez pretty delighted with that. That levels it up at 6 apiece. Tina knocks it out. There was an infringement at the net, and the serve will go over to the Russians. Nikolina to Artemanova. This time Carvalhal's block goes out. Ball again, and that's gone out as well, has it? Yes. So the Russians creep in front again, 7-6. In fact, my apologies, it's 8-6 now. Well, what a comeback this would be by the Russians if they could take this fourth set. Nikolina got back for Tina. She's going to come to Luis. She went for the tip, but Tina sets it for Artemanova. Great defense by the Cubans. And was that not long by Izquierdo? Here we see it again. Izquierdo, and I think it dropped in. Yes, it did. There's the point going up in the background. 8-7 now. Russians can do no more than just punch it over. Cabal, good block. You're going to have to go again, Luis. And that's gone wide, and that's the delight again on the Russian faces. And the blank stare from Luis Hernandez. It's just a little wide, maybe, forcing her to go a long way cross-court. Tina with the serve. Oh, it's a great dig from the Cubans once again. Bell McKenzie. This is better volleyball. Lovely work in the defense from the Cubans. Luis Hernandez and Caballal both going for it, and I think there was a mix-up between them. And that'll be 9-7 to the Russians. Caballal actually planting the ball about 10 feet out of play. Well, the Russians moving a little closer to maybe leveling this match. What have the Cubans got left? They've got Luis Hernandez up their sleeve, that's for sure. There she is. Oh, look at the absolute incredible height. She was almost parallel. Her feet were almost parallel with the bottom of the net on that occasion. Quite remarkable. Artemanova misses. Did she go long? Yes, she did. 8-9 then. Cubans hot on the Russians' heels. This is a tight set. Tina, Nikolina. Artemanova again. That's a better block, and it came off Artemanova's back for the Cubans to level it at 9 apiece. Here you see it almost rebounds, but in fact it went off the Russian girl's head. I think it was Chebukina. So 9-9 at this timeout. There it is, couldn't ask for tighter than that, 9-9. The Cubans serve in this fourth set, needing just this set to win the match. Oh, great defense from the Cubans again, and a huge spike from Izquierdo. That really was magnificent stuff from the Olympic champions. They were in danger. Just a little pickup from Luis Hernandez. And Izquierdo blasted away. The Russians must be shell-shocked by that. Carvalhal with the serve. Nikolina very tight to the net. Artemanova. forcing the block out. So they have the serve back at 9-10. Manova just given a free opportunity there. They're level at 10-10. It's going to be set, I think, for Luis Hernandez. No, it's not. They go for the quick one, and Torres Herrera wins the serve back for the Cubans. And they stare down the Russians. Skijero then, the setter, with the serve. Great defense from the Cubans off that Menshova spike. Artemanova again, good block. You see the Russian girls all very close to the net. Great work again from Carvajal. Artemanova, and this time she gets it. Volleyball of the highest caliber now. There you can see there was only one space and she found it. Still, they stand at 10 apiece. The jump start from Artemanova. Good service. Going to be set for Luis Hernandez. That got a touch on the way through. That'll be serve out. 10 apiece. Almost nonchalant serve that she has. Carvajal is set. And that's a great spike from Costa Blanco to put the Cubans 11-10 in front. Bang, thank you very much. We're on our way to victory. Luis Hernandez knocks the ball long. Maybe they're not. Maybe the Russians have got something left in the tank. Excuse the pun. Haven't got many of those left nowadays. 10-11, the Russians trailing. There's Bell McKenzie at the net. And I think that's good enough for 12-10. There's the block. Did it drop out? Yes. 12-10, 11-10 rather. It's a service back to the Russians. Must have been a touch. There was a touch on Costa Blanco. So the Russians back with serve, trailing by just a single point still. It's come this right-hand side. Costa Blanco with a fabulous cross-court.
ทีมคิวบาขอเปลี่ยนตัวหมายเลข2ออกหมายเลข1เข้า
Cubans making a substitution. Ortiz is on to take the serve at 11-10. There's Wide, driving it in low, and it immediately pays dividends. 12-10. 3 points for victory in this grudge match. The Olympic gold medalists serving against the Olympic silver medalists. 3-1 was the score in sets. Well, that's missed, so the Russians have got it back at 10-12 down. I was going to say the Cubans won that Olympic final 3-1, and they're on the verge of repeating that victory here. Ortiz. They're in trouble, and that's 12-11. Carvajal disgusted with herself. Menshova has put the Russians back in with a shout. There you can see the set went all wrong. Ortiz. Bell McKenzie is blocked. It's going to come to Artemanova, and it's going to fall for the Russians. 12-12. The crowd goes absolutely crazy. Artemanova, the mainstay of this Russian team, has leveled up the scores, and there's the delight, and there's the timeout. 12-12 in the fourth set. The Russians looking to level it up at 2 sets apiece. So we're back on court. The women in red here, the Cubans need 3 points for victory in the match. The Russians need 3 points, or potentially 3 points to stay in the match. Ortiz with the set, very tight to the net. And the serve has gone over to the Cubans. I think there was an infringement on the net. Yes, there was the touch. Bell McKenzie serving at 12-12, fourth set. Good serve. Menshova, and she's won the serve back for the Russians. Torres unable to reach that. It's tight for Ortiz. Infringement, yes, against the Russians. Artemanova or Nicolina, one of the two, and the serve goes back across. It was Artemanova, maybe just getting her hands just slightly over the net. Carvajal with the serve. It's going to come to Artemanova, and that's dropped for them. The Russians get the service back. Back and forth it goes. Who's going to get this vitally important 13th point? Infringement, says the referee. Artemanova, I think, had fallen onto the wrong side of the net. And there's going to be a substitution. Costa Blanco's back on for Cuba as they go in search of these 3 points. Will give them victory in this match. Izquierdo will serve for them. Very deep. Just held in by the Russians. Menshova rather. Luis Hernandez leading by example again. Changed the angle. I think the Russians thought she was going cross court. Timeout called by the Russians. Russian girls looking a little downcast now. They know they could be 2 points away from defeat. Nikolai Karpov getting worked up again. And the Cubans come out, requiring just 2 points for victory. They could see them go unbeaten here in Bangkok. Nicolina with the set. Artemanova. Great block, but it's gone out. Still was a touch on the net anyway. Well, it was a touch apparently from the Russian girls. So it's 14-12. They move to within a point of victory. The Cuban fans screaming and shouting, 14-12. There it is. This point to take the match. And is he going to drop? No, not quite. Great defense from the Russians. Valentina. Luis Hernandez for victory. Touch on the net, and there it is. The Cubans take it 15-12 in the fourth set. And they take the match 3-1. Nicolina goes over to claim that they didn't touch the net, but the referee will have none of it. Valentina pulls the net in disgust. The Russians, to a woman, are not happy, but they will have to resign themselves to defeat here. 2 wins and a loss. The loss coming in this match against the Cubans here at the Nimabut Hall in Bangkok, Thailand. There's the final, what proved to be the final set score, 15-12, 30 minutes that fourth and final set took.